Hi everyone, and welcome to Mental Health Myth Busting with That's Mental. Today's myth number 2, is vulnerability is weakness. So, I love this myth. I'm so glad that somebody picked it. But you might be wondering, what does this have to do with mental health? Um, I actually believe that they're super connected because being able to recognize and talk about your mental health requires you to be vulnerable. It's not an easy thing to do. And why is it hard to be vulnerable? Well, it's hard because it's perceived as a weakness, as the person who submitted this myth suggested. If you've ever read Brene Brown's work or if you've watched her TED Talk, then you will know she's a reference when it comes to all things vulnerability. And she believes that vulnerability is very closely linked to feelings of shame, because the fears that we have about not being good enough or of being rejected by others are all linked to the fear of us being seen fully for who we are. And that's terrifying to us. We're almost naked, we're stripped bare, and we're super vulnerable when we're showing up fully as who we are and showing people who we are in that way. But as she discovered in her research, the people who had a great sense of worthiness, a sense of belonging, and felt strong and loved, all embraced that vulnerability. All of those people were able to just go with it, which I think is really interesting because it shows that even though it's scary as hell, when you learn how to embrace it, you actually live a more fulfilled life. So I want to really quickly talk about why vulnerability is perceived as weakness and why it's so scary to us. And I think we're taught to equate vulnerability with weakness because we're taught things like don't cry in front of others, hold it together, or get it together. We're told to be strong. We're told that we shouldn't show who we really are at work. In a lot of cultures, you're taught that you have to have this like work personality, your professional face. Actually, the expression "don't lose face" is another one of these things that just talks about how you're supposed to put on a mask, an image of who you are. You're asked to only show the best side of yourself in dating as well. People are terrified. Oh, but what if they see this about me or that about me? So there's constantly this game going on of like hiding who we really are, and so on and so on. So of course it makes sense that with all of that and all the messages that we're constantly hearing, we're scared of being vulnerable. We're scared of it because not many people fully embrace it. We're scared because it's a really difficult thing to do. I mean, if you've ever tried it, which I'm sure you have, and I have as well, it's terrifying. It's really scary to put yourself out there in such a way. We're scared of opening ourselves to others because by being vulnerable, we have to show ourselves to others and we might get hurt. And again, that's really scary. But that's actually why I believe that learning how to be vulnerable and knowing how to be vulnerable is a sign of strength, not of weakness. Basically, I feel that being vulnerable means showing up for yourself first and then showing up for others too in an authentic way. It's how you're going to be able to build meaningful relationships. And I'm not just talking about romantically, I think whether it's friendships, family, romance, or even professional relationships. I think the vulnerability is really key to that. And actually, when it comes to building authentic connections and showing up authentically, I really just want to give a small shout out to AJ and David from the Authentic Dating series, because they talk a lot about the power of authenticity and vulnerability in relationships. So when it comes to mental health, I think it's the same. We really have to learn to embrace and own our vulnerability. We have to dare to show up as who we are with our faults, and that includes mental health problems that we're having, struggles that we're experiencing, the things that challenge us and push us over the edge. It's okay, and we have to feel alright to talk about it and tell someone, I'm really overworked right now and I'm reaching burnout, and not be ashamed of it. And we come back to shame and the link between shame and vulnerability. And particularly when it comes to the workplace, which is of course where I advocate for mental health a lot, I really think that It is being vulnerable to admit in your place of work that you are struggling, and it's really hard. And this is one of the places where we have been the most taught not to do that. So just remember, vulnerability is a strength, it's not a weakness. And don't forget to show up for yourself and for others authentically. So it'll help you be more in tune with your feelings, it'll help you be able to open up to others about what you're feeling, and ultimately, you know, we can all create a place where we can communicate more openly with one another. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget that if you have other myths that you want me to bust on mental health, then please let me know, and I'll see you for the next one.